latest information just into our newsroom. The suspect who was shot has died.
Right, and Amy, stay with us for a bit because you were explaining, or we may have lost her. Amy was explaining earlier that both of them, between the suspect and the police officers, you're saying sent different directions, I guess, once they were treated, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I talked to the Baltimore County Press Information Officer here, and she says that that suspect was taken to a different hospital, not to shock trauma. Those two officers we do know, however, are at shock trauma and are being treated there. That's what we know so far.
And I don't know, go ahead.
I was just going to reiterate that the suspect has passed away.
Right.
And the officers were told their injuries are not life-threatening.
And I don't know if you can tell from where you are, but do you get the sense, Amy, that this all occurred outside of that complex versus being inside of, you were describing the buffet that you're in front of?
Right, that's a very interesting question, Jason, and a good point too, because I actually want to just pull you guys over there. This is what we see right now. It's happening right outside of the Dollar Buy. So honestly, it's hard to say, and I'm not going to jump to information here that I don't have confirmed, but it looks like it happened mostly on the outside of this Dollar Buys. You don't see officers coming in and out of the stores. So I would say, for the most part, this is something that happened while the officers were maybe walking or patrolling around this parking lot, this outside area of the mall.
Mm-hmm. And the time this happened, we're both familiar with this area. At about 8:30 in the morning, there are a lot of people on those roadways there, Security Boulevard,
all around, two major roads coming together.
Two major roads, people heading to work. So it was, I'm sure, quite a scene.
Yeah. And Amy, I'll get you to describe again, because some folks, as we mentioned, Baltimore City Police, and clearly you're in Woodlawn. Describe how that happens, how that works, that you're dealing with two agencies.
Yeah, that's right. So these were officers who were on the Warrant Apprehension Task Force, WATF for short, and that means they have jurisdiction to travel amongst all these different counties within the state and therefore serve these warrants if they need to do that. Now, I want to make a very important note here that we don't have information yet on whether or not these officers were serving a warrant or not. They just happened to be here, maybe patrolling the area, maybe they had met this guy, and that's when all of this kind of happened. The shooting happened. But again, that is why these city officers are within the county. And again, that is what leads us to the city responding. They are aware of their own officers being out here in the county.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Let's take a look at the map once again, so if folks are not familiar exactly with where this is. This is in Woodlawn, Baltimore County, kind of the southwest area of Baltimore County. And like we were just saying, it's kind of at the intersection of some major roadways, and it's right near the Beltway and 70, but it's right there at the corner of Rolling Road and Security Boulevard. Very well-traveled area.
Sure, yep, and very accessible. We told you that we had two crews working, one at Security Square Mall, also down at Shock Trauma. This is where the two police officers were sent, again, on that Warrant Apprehension Task Force. The word that we got earlier, so far, preliminarily, was that the officers' injuries were not life-threatening, but we have learned that the suspect in this has died. Let's take it back to how this all began. About 8:30-ish, we get the call for a shooting around Security Square Mall. We know that both Baltimore City and Baltimore County officers are involved.
And the officers are on a warrant apprehension task force, which allows them to move within different jurisdictions. So the officers who have been injured are from Baltimore City. They happen to be operating over the line there in Baltimore County. The officers were taken to Shock Trauma, where we see a crowd starting to gather there, and the suspect was shot in this incident and has died.
What we know is that the mayor and the police commissioner are on their way to Shock Trauma. I'm sure we'll hear from them today. Hopefully that will clear up a little bit of what exactly happened there at Security Mall. I believe we're going to leave you now and come back as soon as we get word from that press conference and learn some more about these officers involved. But again, this is a shooting in Baltimore County and developing. Yep.
Yeah. We'll be back.